What's up, everyone? Welcome. Happy Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking about intervals. Intervals are the most important thing that you can learn, both theoretically because it will teach you how to build chords, how to build scales, and also listening wise, if you hear these two notes, you need to know that that's a major third, for example, okay? So you need to understand them theoretically and orally. Orally meaning by ear. Okay, now in my book, my Beato book, the very first thing in the book, the first chapter, I have it right here, talks about theory and harmony. And we talk about intervals. Now, my book only comes as a PDF. I printed mine out here. This is a Beato book 3.0. But the first thing we're going to talk about is intervals. I've never really done a video. I've never done a live stream, and I've never done a video on intervals, even though it's probably the most important thing. No, it's definitely the most important thing to know about in music theory. So we're going to learn how to name them and how to listen for them and why they're important right here. But let's just talk about how to name them. Before I go on, I've got a discount code for my book, RB135. So you think 135 like a major triad, okay? And it's 35% off. I don't usually do the 35% off discount. Billy has it up here in the chat. I also have new things for those of you that have my book and are interested in some of the merch that I have. I have a bunch of new t-shirts on my website, and my website's been redesigned as of yesterday. Aaron redesigned the whole thing. Looks totally different, looks way better. So I'm finally caught up in the 21st century here with my website. Okay, intervals. Let's talk about naming them and what some of the terms you need to know are. Okay, so you have this term perfect. So perfect intervals refer to unisons, meaning the same note. So if it's the note C and the note C, that's a unison, okay? Perfect fourths, perfect fifths, and perfect eighths or perfect octaves. Perfect eighths. So a perfect eighth would be an octave. That would be an octave C there, okay? Okay? So those are the intervals that you refer to as perfect intervals. Really, fourths and fifths is what we're gonna talk about mainly as perfect intervals. Now, how does this chart flow? Well, this chart flows this way. Perfect intervals, if they're raised a half step, become augmented. If they're lowered a half step, they become diminished. Then we also have the imperfect intervals over on this side. That would be seconds, sevenths, thirds, and sixths. Those are imperfect intervals. Imperfect intervals can become major or minor, depending on if they're, there are major and minor thirds, major, minor sixths and sevenths, major, minor seconds. You can also have augmented and diminished intervals. If they get raised, in addition, let's say you have a whole step here, that would be called a major second, okay? If I go to that note, well, to the ear, it's a minor third, but it theoretically could be an augmented second, okay? We'll talk about that in a minute. But these right here, this is your little key for how intervals are written. The small n, M indicates minor intervals. The capital M indicates major. The D indicates diminished intervals. A is augmented intervals. And P is perfect intervals. Okay, let me show you here. So if I have a small M2, right? That would be a minor second. Minor second, okay? A large M3, that would be a major third. An A5 would be an augmented fifth. A P4 would be a perfect fourth, right? And, a small D, let's say a diminished fifth would be a diminished fifth. So that's how you actually write them, or if you type them in. So if you see in my book, I use capital letters for major intervals, perfect intervals and augmented intervals. I use lowercase letters for minor intervals and diminished intervals. That's just kind of the convention that's used, that everybody uses, okay? Let's talk about this, how to name intervals next. Now, this stuff is all in my book. It's literally on the first page of Theory and Harmony. It's the most important thing to know. All right, so let's talk about how you name intervals. And there's two things that you need to know to name an interval. You need to know, I'm going to go here and tell you exactly how I have it written. So you need to know the letter names spanned, okay, and then the number of half steps spanned. Okay, so let's say that we have the note C to E flat, okay? C to E flat. We're ascending here, okay? Well, what are the letter names spanned? C, D, E. There are 3 letter names spanned. 1, 2, 3. That tells you it's a type of third, okay? Now, the number of half steps will tell you what kind of a third it is. Thank you, Deb. Appreciate that. So we're going to count the half steps here. So if we think about it like this, let's see here. Let's see if I can do this. I'll just write it like this. C, C sharp, D, E flat, D flat. This would be D sharp, okay? It is one half step, 2 half steps, 3 half steps. That equals 3 half steps. 3 half steps is a minor third, okay? So this equals a small m minor third, okay? C to E flat. Now, if it was C to D sharp, this is where the theory comes in here, right? To the ear, you're not going to know this stuff. C to D sharp, okay, this is a different thing. There's only 2 letter names spanned, C and D, okay? C, D, 1, 2. So it's going to be some type of a second. This is where you come in and you go C to D sharp. So 1, 2, 3 half step spanned. So this is actually an augmented second. Okay, this is how this works. So this is actually involves theory. All right, and the context is really important. In some of my videos, you'll hear me talk about things that I call hidden enharmonics. Okay, hidden enharmonics are things that are not obvious when you hear a scale or see it written. I'm going to give you an example. If I take a, let's say I take a scale, this is a C altered dominant scale. I like it because it's all a bunch of flats, okay, except for the first note. So you have 1, flat 2, flat 3, flat 4, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7. Now, this has some hidden enharmonics in it. I'll tell you why. Well, one of the reasons is it has an F flat, which is really the note E. So in theory, we have C, E, and it has A flat, which is really G sharp. So this is a C augmented chord right here, C augmented, okay? But it's hidden because the theory of it has all these flats here. But to the ear, when you hear that chord, you're like, oh, it's just an augmented chord. You know from the sound of it that it's augmented, but if you think about the theory, you may miss those kind of things. Well, it also has another thing in here, C, E flat, G flat. This is a C diminished chord, okay? So that scale has an augmented chord built on C and a diminished chord. The diminished chord is not a hidden enharmonic, right? The first note, third note, and fifth note of the scale, 1, flat 3, 5. So that is an obvious one that you can see. The hidden enharmonic is the C augmented chord, okay? This is kind of why these augmented intervals are important, augmented and diminished intervals. they help you find things that are hidden in some of the more exotic scales. But if we're dealing with the major and minor scales, even major modes of the major scale, you're not really, that stuff's not that important, okay? Okay, so let's talk about some other intervals here. Let's go from, let's say we go B flat down to D. Okay? So what you do in this case, if it's B flat up to D, it would be some type of a, let's see, B flat. So B, C, D, right? So that would be a type of third, right? 3 letters spanned. But I played B down to D, okay? So the order of the notes is important. You'd really say, well, it's D to B flat. So it's going to be, even though the top note I played first, right? I did. Okay, so we're going to go D to B flat. We're going to write the letter names in D, E, F, G, A, B. Okay, those are letter names. I'm not worried about the B flat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's some type of 6. Thank you, Ahmed. Appreciate that. Okay, so what kind of a sixth is it? Well, we have to count all the, I see somebody said they're minor 6. That's what it is. If you count the half steps, D, E flat, F, or I'm sorry, E, F, F sharp, G. It doesn't matter if I use sharps or flats. A flat, A, B flat. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can go through and you count these, but you really, it's easier just to group them like this. There's a whole step here. D to E, E to F sharp is another whole step. F sharp to A flat is another whole step. When you eventually count them out, you'll figure out, because it's easier to do it this way, D, F sharp, A. Okay, 1, 3, 5. So this is your major triad. A quicker way to do this is to say, okay, that's the 5th, okay? So what is that extra note there, that B flat? Well, that's a half step above. So that's going to be your flat 6, okay? So your flat 6 here, this is really a fast way for people to do it, is if you know your basic triads, you can figure out what these intervals are related to where the 5th is, for example, here, in relation to a D major chord. So I took a D major chord, then I put that B flat there. Oh, that's a half step above A, so that's going to be a flat 6, okay? If I did the note B, well, that's a major 6th interval. So that's a much quicker, that's a shortcut that I like to use, where all you need to know is a basic major triad, and you can figure these out, okay? So let's take another one here. Let's say F to C. F to C, okay? Well, what are we going to do here? There's a couple things we can do. We can go F, G, A, B, C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? It's some type of a 5th. Well, if you count out, if I do the same thing, I go F, A, C for an F major chord, 1, 3, 5. Well, that tells you it's actually a perfect 5th. That equals perfect 5th. Since the C is the 5th of an F major chord, that is a 5th interval. If that note was a C sharp, okay, now that would have an extra half step there. Now to the ear, this sounds like a flat 6 interval, but it's really a sharp 5th interval. Okay, so you're going to call it an augmented 5th, A5. Okay, F, A, C sharp would be 1, 3, sharp 5. Sharp 5 is an augmented 5th, okay? If the note was D flat, because of the number of notes spanned, you get D here, so it'd be some type of a 6th. So that would be a minor 6. Okay? To the ear, though, you're hearing that minor 6 sound. I mean, it's really, to the ear, these intervals, you're always going to name them by their simplest form, okay? You'll name this an augmented fifth if you hear it as part of an augmented chord. Then you would know that that is an augmented fifth, 1, 3, sharp 5, okay? But other than that, if you just play a straight 2-note interval, you're going to just say, oh, that's just a minor 6 interval, you know? That's a fifth, that's a minor 6, that's a major 6. Minor 7th, major 7, major 3rd, perfect 4th, minor 2nd. You got to be able to identify these things like that, okay? So the naming of the intervals is very, very important. Equally important is being able to recognize them by ear. Now, my ear training course is out right now, and we have a discount code, which I think we've only done it one time on here, and the discount code is ET20. Is that right, Billy?
Yep.
Ear training 20, and it's 20% off on the ear training course. It's out right now. Now, the beginning of the ear training course, it starts with intervals, because intervals are the building blocks of music. You got to be able to understand intervals, right, Billy?
Yep. Which note is higher than the other?
Which note is higher or lower than the other? Billy is very good at intervals. Now, he doesn't have the record. Do you have the record and anything?
Man. Oh.
We have the ear training. If you opt in the ear training, you can opt in to compete against everyone in the world that's on the ear training course. And it shows, I think, the top 10 now, right, Billy?
It shows the top person.
But I think it's, has Aaron not released the top 10?
I don't think so yet.
Yeah, I think it's coming out that the new release will have the top 10 people in it. But it shows who the people are that are fastest at intervals. You don't have to opt into that if you don't want to. But being able to recognize these intervals by ear instantly is extremely important. You have to be able to recognize them in 2 different ways. Melodically, meaning played separately, and harmonically, played together. Bum, bum, minor 7. Okay? So that is crucial to be able to sight sing anything. If you hear a solo and you want to transcribe it and don't have your instrument, if you're listening to chords and you want to know the chord progression of a song, everything is dependent on being good at identifying intervals, okay? When you get into really complex chords, extended 7th chords, added note chords, if I hear that chord, I know instantly that is a minor add 9 chord, okay? But if I play this note there, that's the C, you have to be able to go, you have to be able to say, okay, I hear the 2nd, I hear the flat 3rd, the minor 3rd, and I hear the perfect 5th. So it's 1, 2, flat 3, 5. That is a minor add 9, okay? If I hear bum, 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 1, sharp 4, 5, 1, augmented 4th to the 5th. Okay, so that would be C, F sharp, G. And if I had ba at the top, I know it's a major 7. Okay, that would be a Lydian major 7, or a Lydian triad with a major 7. Okay, so these things that you're hearing there, when you hear them, you need to be able to instantly react and say, I know what that is. If I hear that chord, is like, oh, that's augmented major 7th chord, because I can hear the augmented triad, and I hear ba at the top, and I can hear this. This is D flat, that is C. Okay, that's a major 7th interval. That's a major 3rd, sharp 5, major 7. 1, 3, sharp 5, major 7. Okay? So that's an augmented major 7. There's all different types of chords that are really, some are dissonant, some are not dissonant, but you should be able to recognize these things instantly by ear. John, thank you very much. But the way that you begin to do this is simply start with 2-note intervals, okay? Once you master the 2-note intervals, including beyond the octave, okay? Let me talk about that for a second. If I have the note F to G, you could say, okay, that's a major second. But it could be this F to that G. That is a major 9 interval. Okay, that would be, if it goes beyond the octave, so you go F to F, octave, and then that G is going to be a major 9 away, okay? Now, typically you hear these intervals like that as part of voicings. Okay, that would be an F sus9 chord. F, C, G, okay? If I have this interval, that is a flat 9 or a minor 9 interval, okay? These things, if I have a chord like this would be an F7 flat 9. I have F7. Okay, you have 1 major 3rd, perfect 5th, minor 7, minor 9. Those are the intervals in that chord, okay? But when I hear that, I instantly know that that is a dominant 7 flat 9 chord because I recognize all the intervals. Do, 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 do. Okay, I don't have perfect pitch, but I have perfect relative pitch, which is kind of better than perfect pitch because everybody loses perfect pitch. Even if I had perfect pitch at my age, I would have lost it already, pretty much. Forever, unless you got perfect pitch. I don't know what that meant, but
The guy asked earlier, how long should it take to complete the course?
Oh, you can work on it forever. I mean, thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. Metalhead Hippie, what's up? Really appreciate that. Questions on intervals. So the naming of them is pretty basic. You have to be able to count the number of half steps and how many note names spanned, okay? And you get really fast at this. If you go C up to A, you just know it's a 6th, okay? If, G to E is a 6th or C to E is a 3rd. Eventually from doing these things a lot, you just instantly know what they are. The things that get tricky are, once you master the intervals within an octave, then you start mastering them beyond an octave. That is a major 10th interval. This would be a perfect 11. This would be an augmented 11th or a sharp 11, okay? These things come in really handy. That would be a spread Lydian triad. This would be a root position Lydian triad. This is a spread Lydian triad. It's beautiful, beautiful sound. Wow, I love that. That would be a spread suspended triad. 1, 5, 11. 1, 5, sharp 4. That would be a 1, 5, minor 3rd. Or 1, 5 with a minor 10th at the top. I just call it a minor 3rd. Oh, that sounds so good. Doesn't that sound good? Man, that's so simple too. Those spread triads. I love that. Perfect pitch will make you crazy if you play the piano sharp or flat. That is not actually true. Because when my son Dylan hears things that are out of tune, he does not care. Because if he cared and you heard his 6th grade band, he would have gone insane. because it is, they're sixth graders. It's a wind band. It's cacophony, and I don't mean the band. What's up, Dean? Good to see you. Discount code for the Beato book, RB135. When I say 135, I'm referring to a major triad. That's another shorthand that we have for this. Billy, do I have a few minutes still? Where am I right now?
Right now?
Yeah.
You're around like 31 minutes.
Okay.
25
minutes. Okay, I got 5 minutes here to do. I want to talk about this. Another thing for describing intervals is how to relate them to major chords or to the major scale. Typically, when we have a major triad, C, E, G, I will refer to this. Everybody does this. You always refer to things 1, 3, 5. What do you do to a major triad or a major scale to get the other sounds? If I go C, E flat, G, that's 1 flat 3, 5. Okay? C, E flat, G flat is 1 flat 3, flat 5. And C, E, G sharp is 1, 3, sharp 5. This is just shorthand for intervals. But really what this is a major third, okay? This is a major third interval. And between these two is an augmented fifth, okay? Between those outside voices. So this here, a C major chord, is a major third interval on the bottom, a minor third, so small m on the top, and between the outer two voices is a perfect fifth. Okay, so this is how we build chords, and this is the shorthand that you use for chords and scales. Same thing. If I take a C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, that's a C major scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, if I make it a C melodic minor scale, I'm going to make that an E flat and write that as a flat third. That would be C melodic minor. If I do this, this would be a C Dorian scale. I make that a flat 7. If I made this A flat, this would then become a C Aeolian scale or C natural minor scale. Okay? So this is how, or if I flatted this, it would be a C Phrygian scale, and I change this to a flat 2. Okay, so this is how we, this is the shorthand for naming scales and chords. It's what do you do to a major triad or a major scale to get any other scale. This is a shorthand for intervals. But if you were to say what are the actual intervals, minor second, major second, major second. So these are all going to be seconds. Major second, minor second, major second. Okay? Those are the intervals there. If I did this to here, perfect fourth, whatever. You should be able to understand what all the intervals are. Perfect fifth, from the outer voices, it's a minor 7, and so on and so forth. So there's all these intervals built into this. But really what you should be able to do is just what do you do to a major scale to get these things, right? So that is a basic understanding of intervals. It's the first chapter in the Beato book. And when I say first chapter, I literally mean when you open the book. Now, it only comes as a PDF, but this is the beginning of theory and harmony. And it shows you how this works, okay? But this has to be memorized. This is the most important thing to know, okay? Beyond anything else, triad scales, whatever, you got to understand what intervals are because they create melodies, they create chords, they create everything, okay? Great. Discount code 35% off the Beato book or anything at my store. I have all new merch too. RB135, right? Major triad. Discount code for the ear training course. If you want to be able to hear that is bum, bum, a major seventh interval, you need to drill it over and over and over. Especially when you get into seventh chords and things like that. If you hear this, that would be a major 7 sus4 chord, okay? You got a major 7 and a sus4 triad there. This would be a Lydian major 7, minor major 7, okay? Ear training course, ET20 is the 20% off discount code on that. You guys are the best. Check out my video on Mixolydian that I just put out. If you haven't watched it, you need to watch it. You need to watch my Mixolydian video. I did remakes of Mixolydian, Lydian, and Lydian, and what's the other one I did? Aeolian. I'm going through all the modes of the major scale. Then I'll do melodic minor. Then I'll do harmonic minor, harmonic major, double harmonic major. You guys are the best. We'll see you later. Have a great day.